2 plus 2 is 4 for you on that? Nearly all of those students who witnessed that are still alive today. If you do not believe in aliens, if you do not believe that we have gone to the moon, watch this documentary. Aldrin confirms the whole thing was scripted.
Let's get to business.
Hi, welcome to my bubble where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. Dang, are my lips dry? Probably. I don't think I put anything on them today. Today, you can see by the title, we back with another conspiracy theories. Now, I'm actually kind of hype about this one because this is what made me want to start conspiracy theory, not for nothing. Watching this documentary got me back in my alien documentary kick. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a minute, but I was on a wave for a certain amount of time. So all the other ones I watched, all the other videos I made, speaking of which, if you haven't seen that, go watch those. All the other videos I made were after, including Nope, were, well, no, maybe not including Nope, but were after watching this documentary and being like, oh yeah, they're out there for sure. Now, granted, I have always been a fan of aliens. That might not be the right way to say that, but aliens have never been a foreign concept to me. Not even just because I'm into all things sci-fi and into like the mystical, but really just because it's very ignorant isn't the word I was going to use, but like, I guess that's the appropriate word. It's real ignorant to understand that space is ever expanding, understand that there are multiple other galaxies, not planets, not solar systems, galaxies out there, but think that we are the only beings on this one rock floating in space. Like that makes sense to you? That's that 2 plus 2 is 4 for you on that? Live your best life though, whatever. And then now they releasing all this footage and they're like, yeah, we have aliens and there's dimensions and there's this and there's that, and it's like the guy who just admitted that they have extraterrestrial biometrics in possession. Like, you're not distracting us, sir. Okay, fix the rent prices, fix the salaries, okay, fix the wages. If you're gonna increase everything else, fix the fucking wages. We don't care that you're admitting now to having aliens. Like, this is not foreign to us. We knew this. You stopped lying to us for years. Wow, crazy. Anyway, so yes, let's get into the details of this documentary. I don't have it written down in my notes that I'm looking at right now, but I will put it on the screen because I have it somewhere else in my notes. But so this is a documentary I watched. You can watch it. It's on Prime Video. Let's get into it. This conspiracy theory is all about, again, the powers that be lying to us. And really, but this documentary has all the footage, has all the audios, has the documentations of the official reports that NASA and the other government entities, officials, whoever, released after decades, and the discrepancies within those reports? Let's get into it. If you do not believe in aliens, if you do not believe that we have gone to the moon, watch this documentary. Now, it starts off referencing the Westall, Australia sighting in 1966, which, sidebar, I wish I had seen this documentary before I went to Paris, because our tour guide, when we was out and about having the doing the Eiffel Tower walk, was like, oh, if aliens are real, how come only Americans have ever seen them? Played yourself, because the largest sighting in the world was in Australia in 1966. Okay? It's the largest mass witness skyline sighting of a flying saucer in Australia, in the world, but it happened in Australia in April of 1966. At 10:15 a.m., students notice a saucer in the sky. There is a primary school next to a high school. Witnesses from both schools saw the flying saucer, right? They say the saucer flew 700 meters behind the school and disappeared into the trees after a certain amount of time of everybody, looking at it, right? Then a whole bunch of students, even though it's the middle of the school day, who gives a fuck, right? We just saw a flying saucer. So a bunch of students hop the fence. They run into that area of the school that they call the Grove, and some witnesses see the saucer hovering over. Let's do it on this side. Hovering over the ground before it flies off from the field. And nearly all of those students who witnessed that are still alive today. Let's get into it. Okay? One of the high school science teachers, Mr. Andrew, took his science class from inside the high school to outside to go see the flying saucer, right? So not only did the teacher see it, but the students saw it as well. A week later, 2 Australian Air Force officers are at Mr. Andrews' house telling him, quote, "There are no such thing as flying saucers, and we don't want you talking about what you say. We don't want you talking about what you think you saw. And if you do, we will make sure that you don't teach in this state again." Why the government come making threats if it's not that deep, if it's not real? Okay. In the documentary, we hear from a man, a nuclear physicist named Friedman. He talks about a bunch of things throughout the documentary, but just know Friedman equals nuclear physicist. Okay. It's the first time we see him, he's talking about how in the 1940s is the first time we used the atomic bomb. And then in 1952, Eisenhower said that information can be safeguarded from the public if it is a threat to geopolitical or geoeconomics of the country, right? In the 1960s, a NASA report mentions potential implications of exposing extraterrestrial life to the public include mass hysteria. If you know, you know. If you know when they drop mass hysteria, you know. But let's keep going. There's this concept of secret space, which is a conspiracy theory involving anomalies seen around the Earth in space. Different things like Martian objects, lunar objects, and just objects like floating around in our atmosphere in general. But then an alternative theory for secret space is, it's a space research program not yet exposed to the mainstream. Take that how you will. In July of 1962, Robert White flies on, quote unquote, the mothership from 45,000 feet in a test to fly the mothership higher than it has ever flown. That was the story on paper, right? The mothership flew for 81 seconds. The aircraft crashed, and they recorded a flight of over 310,000 feet, and it was then defined as an astronaut flight. Okay? White experienced 3 full minutes of zero gravity and was able to look out his window on his left. So he looks out the window. Well, during he does the flight, right? He comes back. What does he say once he get back on the ground? Quote, "There are things out there. There absolutely is," says, quote, USAF test pilot Robert White. Okay. August of 1962, White talks to Life magazine about his experiences. Okay. Then we see frames from stop motion film of Major White's aircraft, facing from the rear, wing and empennage camera included, and the documentary will show you all the footage, and it just shows you other things filmed during that flight. Okay. A couple months later, another person flies in the same aircraft and sees, quote, several cylindrical discs flying near his aircraft. Now, why did they test to go as high as they could go, right? Let's go back. In May of 1962, in Seattle, Joe Walker claimed that one of the missions during the April 62 flight was to detect and film UFOs at a high altitude. Right? So let's go back. April of 62. I'll write it here. April of 62, they do a flight with the intention to detect and film UFOs high up in the sky, right? May of 62, Joe Walker, I guess, who was one of the pilots or whoever, is talking about this. And July of 62, they fly an aircraft to see how high up it can go. The pilot goes all the way up. When he comes back down, what does he say? There's stuff up there. Watch the documentary, okay? Okay. Keep going. May of 1963, Gordon Cooper takes Mercury 9 around the Earth 9 times. Over Australia, he sees something following him, right? Then we see a video of Cooper telling his experience and how he was told they would confiscate the footage. Now, Gordon Cooper, when you watch the documentary and you see his face, because I'm horrible with names, but I never forget a face. One of the other documentaries that I watched and made a conspiracy theories about, he was also mentioned and starred in that documentary as well. I think that was the documentary of people talking about their experiences being taken or quote unquote abducted. I don't like the word abducted because it has like a negative connotation, even though negative things were happening, but I think it was that one. But if not that one, he was in one of the other ones. Watch the documentary and you'll know what I'm talking about. But let's keep going. He literally tells the story of how he got the footage, how he called in the footage, because he's like a military person, so he reports up. And he was like, well, they were like, okay, by the time you get back to wherever you're going, there will be a carrier here waiting for you. Put the footage in the bag, hand it to him, go on about your day. Words from his mouth, not mine. Okay? Keep going. During 1965 and 1966, NASA astronauts aggressively flew 2 manned missions into low Earth orbit. They gained experience needed for the upcoming Apollo successful missions, right? Within 20 months, 16 astronauts flew 10 missions on the Gemini spacecraft, gang, to the pilot's right, like within their aircraft, right? To the pilot's right is a VTR, which was used to verbally document visual observations during each flight. Okay? June of 1965, Gemini 4 takes its first manned flight, and the pilot saw something unusual. Gemini 7 flight, the pilot reports a quote-unquote bogey, and NASA Public Affairs interrupted the public radio channel, because everything's recorded during these missions, right? But they interrupted the public feed, but Mission Control in the background was still talking to them about the bogey, and got the confirmation, like, is it a confirmed bogey? Are you sure? And then the pilot repeats, and yeah, we have a bogey. We actually have several. Okay. 1965, Russia's Zond 3 probe takes photos from the far side of the moon, looking back towards Earth, right? So say Earth is my pillow, and y'all are the probe. You're looking back at Earth, and I'm the moon, right? You're the back side of the moon, right? I'm taking pictures facing this way, okay? Frame number 25, right? Frame 25 has the Tower of Babel, which is a mysterious tower on the lunar landscape. So, like, if my head is the moon, there's like a tiny, well, not tiny, but there's in the pictures, you can see a little tower on the moon. But that's the Earth. This is the moon. What's that tower, right? It's a mysterious tower on the lunar surface. So the camera is 10,000 kilometers away. So they did the math, and the tower was thought to be, or is determined to be, 3.5 miles high. Miles. The tower is 3.5 miles high. Okay? On the surface of the moon. 3 miles high. Damn near 4 miles high, right? And there's apparently smaller structures seen nearby, but NASA nor Russia has an explanation for the towers. Carl Wolf, a whistleblower from the U.S. Air Force, then goes on to talk about the late 60s. This is all footage in the documentary, okay? This is not like somebody reading written accounts. These are people talking about their experiences, right? So Carl Wolf is talking about the late 60s. And 65, his boss comes to him, and at the time, Wolf is a photographic technician in the specializing in photo repair. And his boss says that they need help with equipment. The equipment is the first lunar orbiter, and they wanted to locate the first landing site. Okay? Carl was sent to the NSA, National Security Agency, to fix the problem with the technology, right? He thought they said NASA, but no, they said NSA, National Security Agency. Okay? Because we can't have this information getting out. It's going to be public hysteria. We can't have it getting out, right? The Lunar Orbiter 3 in 1967 captures the shard, and it comes back in one of almost 500 high-res photos. Another structure seen on a space surface. I don't remember if that one was Mars or something else on the moon. But even though the shard, this structure, is seen in 500 high-definition photos, NASA doesn't acknowledge it. LiveScience.com says that secret space theorist Richard Hoagland doctored the image, which, again, Richard Hoagland is another face and name from one of the other documentaries. Just saying. But even though NASA's not acknowledging it, they're saying it's a hoax, it's Dr. Da-da-da. Amateur astronomers have found the shard themselves. And the object, the shard, the structure, it has a shadow. Like you can see the shadow in the pictures. Right? Okay, now let's get into the Apollo era, right? Okay. The cover story was designed to allow the missions to be conducted in the public eye while simultaneously canceling the fact that ET life evidence has been discovered on the moon. Okay? So they want the public to know, yeah, we went to the moon, but they don't want the public to know about what's happening on the dark side of the moon. Shout out to Transformers. The astronauts' scripts after the mission were effective at, quote, ensuring the astronauts did not divulge any sensitive information while they communicated over the public radio channel with Houston. They've already been to space a bunch of times. They've practiced a bunch of times. They've gone. So all of the Apollo missions were very, very, very structured, very, very, very scripted. The pictures, the words, the conversations, all of it scripted, right? Okay. In the documentary, you can hear the audios of the candid moments, the moments that happened while they interrupted the public broadcast during those, what was it, 3-4 minutes where they turned that off again, which you can see in Transformers Dark of the Moon, and you can see that in something else. TV is not just TV, folks. They be trying to put you on game, but you got to pay attention, right? But in the documentary, you hear the audios of the astronauts talking to each other, the astronauts talking to Houston and talking about things that they saw, right? You hear the audios of the candid moments between the astronauts about what they're seeing outside the spacecraft. And these audios were captured by a device mounted on the inside of the Apollo CSM, known as the Data Storage Equipment Recorder. Okay? They show the visual, the layout of the thing. They show you where all this is at, right? NASA claims the OG Apollo DSE tapes are missing and presumed lost or destroyed. They don't want that mass hysteria, right? The DSE recordings were transcribed and originally classified, but can today be found in NASA's archives. Okay, so the tapes are presumed lost or destroyed, but there are transcriptions of them. Translation, everything that they said was written into Word, and today has been published. Remember, I said discrepancies in the reports. Let's keep going. December of 1968, Apollo 8 is the first human space flight to orbit the moon. Quote, "Please be informed there is a Santa Claus, aka aliens or extraterrestrials." That's what one of the astronauts said to home base. Please be informed there is a Santa Claus. There's a belief that Santa Claus was used to reference magical things that we knew nothing about, right? Okay. July of 69, we see they show us an image from the Apollo 11 mission. During that mission, there are 3 days that astronauts spent headed to the moon, right? In the documentary, we get the raw footage. We see they tell us about the camera, the footage, the frame details. Then they stabilize the scene, right? So they show you the raw footage. They tell you the details of the camera. Then they stabilize the image so that you can see the stuff flying around, right? We don't know what those things are that are freely moving around in space, but that's literally the definition of undefined. Like, we don't know what these things are. We just know that they're flying around. Then Friedman again talks to us about Bruce Maccabee, who was actually a skeptic. That's the word. He was a skeptic about, all things. But a true skeptic does not ignore evidence. A true skeptic will validate or discredit said evidence, right? So Bruce Maccabee validated several UFO sighting pictures, okay? Validated, confirmed, meaning these are real UFO pictures, okay? Documentary keeps going. We get more footage from the Apollo missions. We get Apollo 9 footage, Apollo 10, and Apollo 11 footage. Then we get audio over the transcripted pages of the Apollo 10 mission in 1969 practice landing. Quote, "Do you hear the whistling too? There are 3 spacecrafts, multiple astronauts across the 3 spacecrafts. All of them hear this like whistling in space at the same time, right? They all hear it at the same time, coming from or when they're on the dark side of the moon. The public radio, of course, over the public radio, there's no mention of music or like the whistling. But recently released media has astronauts recreating the music. Keep going. During Apollo 11, it was broadcasted to the public, but astronauts provided commentary during the broadcast. Now, Aldrin is one of the astronauts who took part in Apollo 11. Aldrin confirms that the commentary was scripted. There was a small booklet attached to their wrist cuff. We see images of this. They show us this. There's literally a little like book. It looks like a little, like a little small notebook that you would like open and flip through, right? Or take little notes in, attached to the astronaut's suit. It's on the outside of the suit. You can see it as in the visuals, in the video, all of it. Aldrin confirms the whole thing was scripted. Okay? Keep going. Apollo 12 in 1969. It was always said that they landed and did 2 EVAs during their time on the moon. That was false. During the Cold War, they billed that mission to the war in the name of precision testing and technological advancement. It was a write-off. They was going to the moon, doing alien research, seeing what else they could find, investigating, But on paper, they're like, okay, we're spending all this money because we're testing this new advanced technology to help us in the war. I'm not a history buff, but I know the Cold War was not a good one for the people. Okay? Not that any war is good for the people, but you get my point. So they billed it as a war expense, but really, they was out there fucking with the aliens. Okay? Okay. But a few years ago, NASA slipped up and they published archived documents that discussed 3 EVAs, not 2, during the mission. And to this day, the images remain classified of the 3rd EVA. Long story short, an EVA really just, if you're not going to watch the documentary, even though you should, long story short, the EVA, I don't know, it's like an electronic something, but it maps out the surface of where they are. The 2 EVAs that they said that they did, the astronauts got out of the ship and did EVAs of the lunar surface once they were out. But there's the 3rd documented one. First, they did an EVA from within the ship, from at the top of the landscape, and then they got out and did 2 more. The images of the 3rd one, to this day, still remain classified. Okay? And in the documentary, just watch it, because they will explain to you why the 3rd mentioned EVA was not a slip-up. Doc keeps going. We get proof of the covert radio waves and or loops exist and that they were used. We see, we don't see, but they tell us of the sanitizing of photos and videos. Okay? So now you know, or they explain it. They show us the sanitizing of the images, like, and when you watch it, now you know where the stars went in all the pictures. Because I guess that's one of a lot of people's arguments as far as like we didn't go to the moon because there's no stars in the sky. Like, if it's space and you're in outer space, why is it just a plain black sky? It's a plain black sky because they edited the image, and because they were trying to block some stuff out. They didn't want you to see everything, so that's why you don't see no stars. They explain all of that, get into the very much details of this brightness, it's only 1 degree, but it changes the whole thing, and here's where they stopped this image is real, but here up they did all of that. Okay, they talk about the color replacement, amplifiers, and replacers. Again, if you know photography, you know film, you know all of that. As simple as if you edit your social media pictures to any degree, you understand playing with colors and all those different kinds of stuff. They doctored all those images. That's why there's no stars in the sky. Okay? Then they addressed the question of, okay, so why haven't we been to the moon since 1972? In July of 1969, people walked on the moon. They did it 6 times, then they stopped. The official story is that going to the moon is too expensive. How much money do we just send to Ukraine? How much money do we spend on this? Whatever though. Going to the moon is too expensive. But some think that we have been warned away from the moon, and then some think that we're secretly still going. Now, Friedman comes back again, the nuclear physicist. Friedman comes back and talks the skeptics and the government officials and their cover stories and, the PR of it all. He mentions Philip J. Klass, who was a debunker, right? Or the debunker. He's like a famous, like a lot of his career was spent going on interviews, going on TV and talking to people who are talking about the space missions and saying it's all fake, it's all a hoax, it's all this, it's all that, right? Philip is someone who studied over 80 countries' landing sites, but you can see footage of him being like, this person is arrogant, and this person doesn't, and this person's not smart, this person's ignorant, But that's a classic distracting tactic, okay? If you can't discredit the information that someone is giving out, you discredit the person. That's just politics, right? Last thing mentioned in the documentary, to this day, or at least the latest phrasing of it, to this day, NASA has admitted to budgeting research into quote unquote unidentified aerial phenomena. Just like I said in the Nope conspiracy theory, just like if you were paying attention when they dropped all the footage a couple years ago, that's when they changed the name from unidentified flying object to unidentified aerial phenomena. If you speak English and you know how synonyms work, unidentified flying aerial object phenomena. Like, it's like minus the loose synonym with object and phenomena, like it's the same thing. NASA has alien research literally in their budget. It's literally in their budget. Believe what you want. Think it's all a hoax. Do what you want to do. Okay? But if you're going to do that, call it a hoax from an informed perspective. Call it a hoax from with facts, with details. Don't just attach to your fear. Oh no, that's not real. It can't be. And then that be the end of it. Okay? Me, I'm open to all information. I'm about to say this. I'm not about to say that. Where the fuck? Anyway. So yeah. That's this conspiracy theory. If you ask me, aliens been real. I'm hyped that documentaries like this exist. I don't know. My only question about all alien documentaries in general is like, how you get this published? Like, how is it out there? Because obviously they don't want to be called out for all of their shit, right? We see that on a day-to-day. We see that with former president. Well, I can't put quote unquote, like former presidents who get indicted. All of these people who DeSantis now under federal investigation. Like, we see it in regular day-to-day politics. So they sanitize footage from official people who took part in the actual missions. Like, you are one of the people who are within the level of classification to know about this. Again, shout out to I don't know which Transformers movie it was. I don't remember which one. Don't talk to me about classified. Like, okay, they are classified and still the footage is taken from them. So how the fuck did you, like, where did you find this stuff? But there's always loopholes, and just like the people who made Seaspiracy on Netflix and risked their life in, where was it, Thailand, or one of those East Asian countries. I think it was East Asia, one of the Asian countries. You do what you gotta do to get the stuff out, okay? That's just me. Go watch the documentary, okay? Everybody love to be documentary. Everybody love to watch murder documentaries. Everybody love to watch like slavery and all of the wrongful doing documentaries. Watch some other shit. Watch some shit that's not gonna depress you, okay? Well, me anyway, because I'm not, even though I did like the Murdoch murders, that one was a good one. And I did like Waco. Shout out to Don't Call Me White Girl. I don't watch Snapped. I don't watch First 48. That's not my kind of thing, okay? I'm too sensitive for that energetically. I already don't like people, and that kind of shit will make me stay in my house forever. I like the kind of shit that I don't have, that really does not affect me day to day, other than being informed. Like aliens. So, if you made it to the end of the video and you don't know me, hi. My name's Naori. Stick around, you love it here. Duh. Embrace being a star. Subscribe. Follow my socials. We back and better than ever. I'm a little bit off. No. I need to be careful with my words. I am back in the swing of posting regularly. I post twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Not for nothing, those days might be switching a little bit, but either way, I post twice a week. Sometimes I'm off. I'm a human being. But I post twice a week for the most part. Stick around to see all the videos. Follow all my socials. I've been posting a lot. Go like all my reels, my quote-unquote TikToks. Really, I just made TikTok choreos because I don't have a TikTok. So go do all my dances and start a TikTok challenge. Make sure you tag me. Well, not tag me, but make sure you credit me for the choreos. Thanks. Go like my pictures. The photo shoot pictures should be coming out soon. If you don't know what photo shoot / commercial I'm talking about, go watch that vid. Yeah, that's really it. Don't get in my comments talking nonsense, because I don't give a fuck. If you've seen the documentary and have a different point, we can converse. But don't get in my comments talking nonsense. Okay? I'll see you in my next video. Bye.